Yeah.
That's because they promised us that we would be performing by the ocean. We're on the Gulf of Mexico. They weren't joking. We were on the Gulf of Mexico. The main stage was a dock over the water. And they talked me into getting flipped on my head by the world's most gorgeous voice actor. You know, usually when you hear voice actor, in your head you're thinking, they have a face for radio. Not in Cassandra's, but she was a model first, and then they discovered she had a voice too when people finally bothered to listen to her. And they're like, you know what would be really cool? If we had Beauty flip the beast for opening ceremonies. So I got thrown on my head for the amusement of all 10 people, the audience, and we didn't have any mats. So there I am on the wooden dock, you know, covered in bird crap and everything. She's counting down the audience. Each, ni, san! And I get flipped over and land on the dock, and it was a terrible weekend. And you guys don't seem very sympathetic. Hit by a ceiling fan, flipped by a girl, flipped off by everybody else. And it was the only place we've ever been that had signs on when you drove over the bridge onto the island that had signs that said, beware of low-flying pelicans. You've got to be kidding me. No, there are pelicans all over, and they're protected species. So they'd land and you couldn't drive over them.
Because they're huge.
Because they're huge. They damage our little car.
Wider than our escort.
Well, like, beware of pelicans, and all of a sudden I have the Alfred Hitchcock birds thing going through my head.
It's all over the bridge.
Wow, we're in AnimeCon. They have something on old movies. VHS tapes and stuff.
Birds is a good movie.
What are those?
I've had to read the book in one of my classes. It's actually a really good book.
They made a book?
Yeah.
Really?
It was actually based off a book.
The Birds.
Yeah, it's actually a short novel.
It would have been a short novel. Well, it's kind of a limited subject thing. It's not like you're going to write The Stand based on, hey, birds are back. Let's write 1,500 pages about it.
Well, they did do The Happening, and that's kind of the same concept.
There's a difference, though. See, 40 years later, people still watch The Birds. A year later, no one's remembering The Happening. We're pretending like it didn't happen.
Exactly.
You took my joke.
No, but seriously, what happened?
You don't want to know.
I'm not telling because it'll ruin it for anybody else who wants to watch it.
Isn't that one of those like Shamalama Ding Dong ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big waste of money.
So it probably doesn't even have anything to do with the actual plot, the ending.
You saw The Village, huh? I thought that was going to be a scary movie. The only thing scary was I paid money for that. And not only can I not get my money back, I can't get that hour and a half back in my life. And I go to bad movies. Did anybody remember seeing the ads for Piranha in 3D last summer?
Oh!
I didn't just go see that. I made her go with me. I'm still paying.
You know, there's a sequel. They're bringing out a sequel to that.
Yeah, they are.
Yes! It's going to be great.
That's awesome. Do you actually have a question about ninja weapons or something?
I was going to ask if you had ever seen Justice Ninja Style. It is a movie about ninjas that was produced here in Missouri, locally.
Wow. If anything screams straight to video, that description kind of...
It's an indie video made in the early 80s.
I don't think so. I did, unfortunately, watch like all those 80s ninja movies and the American Ninja series with Michael Dudikoff. Him possess great skills because he's catching arrows with a shovel. It's really cool. You know what I learned when someone shoots at you? Duck. By the way, don't hold the shovel there. When I was working security in the projects and they took 5 shots at me with a .38, you know what I did? I jumped behind a building and... No, don't hit me! Luckily, I'm skinny. They missed. Yes?
How do you practice using deadly weapons without, like, killing people?
You don't.
Oh.
That's why we have a very small school and we travel a lot.
Parents have to sign waivers.
Everything you do when you're training, the difference between reality and training, you have to make allowances for. And so nothing we do is quite the same as, there's no way to simulate life or death because of the hormone change. Hormone change. That one was accidental. The the changes to your body chemistry from stress and the different. There's no way to simulate that perfectly. So you vary your training. You change things up, and you put people where they're uncomfortable, and other times when they're using a real sword, you want them to be safe. So you do things to lower the stress level in the dojo. But you have to mix things up, and you always have to keep in mind, number one, what your intent is. If you're doing a sword form with a weapon that's not real, but you're trying to practice for real, in your mind, you have to remember that move is supposed to be killing somebody. And what I mean by that is you don't just... This is going to be a bad term. I'm going to say it anyway. It's a grown-up panel, right? Well, except for her.
I'm hoping.
Look, you can't half-ass your moves. If this is intended to go and hit somebody hard enough that it's going to distract them from trying to kill you, you can't just stand there and go, I'm practicing, woo. Because the stress level is a lot different if I'm standing in front of you with a sword, or she is, going, if you mess this up, I'm going to kill you. Oh my God! So you have to keep in mind what it is you're practicing for, and even then, it's still just practice. It just is. The military's been working on those very ideas ever since we had a standing military, because you're trying to prepare soldiers for conflict and life or death situations, and you can't predict how people are going to react. Sometimes they panic and don't do their job. Sometimes they do. I don't know if that was even really what you wanted, but we don't actually kill people. And you use the real swords to practice on the non-contact parts, and then you use the wooden practice weapons for the contact drills, so that if you do mess up, it shouldn't be lethal. That's actually where sports like kendo. Familiar with kendo? Okay. Funny yells, they wear armor and use shinai. They're very lightweight. That wasn't designed to be a complete art by itself. It was a way to practice, for the warriors to practice combat and hitting people where it was non-lethal. Because even with a wooden bokken, Miyamoto Musashi fought 2 or 3 of his duels with a bokken and killed his opponent. Because it's still a 3-foot hard oak stick. I have an ironwood bokken at our dojo that we can't use for sparring because it keeps breaking everybody else's bokkens. I could kill somebody hitting him with that. In fact, I'm pretty sure she already has, because we've had some students just disappear. And they were late on tuition. And since she takes care of the books, I think that might have something to do with it. Yeah, nothing says subtle like a blonde running screaming through the streets with a sword. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I saw the National Geographic, Ultimate Warrior, that was where they tested all unarmed people, and they said that ninja was the best because it went straight for it killed humans most easily, the punch to the heart. And also the balance was incredible.
You have to remember, just because it says History Channel and it doesn't mean it's completely subjective and well researched. The honest truth is, there is no ultimate martial art. I know in some areas, East Coast right now, Krav Maga, the Israeli self-defense, is the current rage. If you're in competitive martial arts, the MMA stuff, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is considered the ultimate. It always comes down to the individual. Ninjutsu is not a combat art. And there's 2 types of ninja in what we look at as history. You have the ninja mythology, and then you have the documented history of ninjutsu. And what you have is mythological ninjutsu. That's the tribes, the clans that were ninja. That's the Koga and the Iga and their history. And it's not verified. By not verified, I mean, the ninja toe, the straight sword. And so if you go to Japanese sword shows, they have tables and tables of swords from Japanese history. You don't find any of them. Now, it's either because they're ninja swords and they're hidden, or there aren't any, kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. But The second branch is the actual, this is the historical ninjutsu. And when you follow those lines, instead of the Koga and the Ego, what you have is Sanada-Ryu. Sanada was one of Takeda Shingen's 24 generals, advisors, and he specialized in military espionage. And so the ninja from that was similar to our Navy SEALs.
Yeah, that's the one they were talking about too.
And they were taught extra skills in addition to their combat skills as warriors. They were taught the sentry removal, the sneaking into houses, even the swimming in armor. I like that idea. Let's put you in 65 pounds of metal and throw your butt in the bay. Swim! So, it's kind of subjective because for Sanada-Ryu, the empty hand techniques, it wasn't a separate discipline. It was a subset. You had all this overall training for joint locks and neck breaks and all this stuff, and what they did is they took a small amount of that to specialize for these warriors and say, all right, look, your job is to get in, get out. So if you get seen, I speak English frequently. Bad guys coming, your job is to immediately eliminate them. You're not going for big combat and a fight. You have these techniques that I want you to get very good at. Extend the front knuckle and go here and strike for the larynx because you're going to bruise it. They choke out and can't breathe. You're going to go here with the palm heel to the sternum, which it's possible to kill somebody that way, just like the palm heel to the nose and drive the bone splinters. It's also really hard to do. But you have those quick kill shots. And it's not that was the only...
I think someone's telling you she's ready to go.
Someone please take me back to my room. No, there's a panel in here at 11. And they're actually here waiting.
Uh-oh.
As everybody turns and looks. It's him! We're done, I promise. They won't let me leave. They kept me... Ooh, is that a TV? No, it's a projector. Can I have it?
Anyway, we'll see you guys at 3:30 in main programming for self-defense panel. Also, feel free to check us out on Facebook and like our page, Samurai Dan and Jillian. Lots of more video clips and fun things on there. You can start discussion panels with any questions you think of later.
No! Lupin! Lupin's got the greatest luck in the world.
Yes.
But Spike is Stephen Blum.
Spike Spiegel. Let's go into the characteristics of each character. Lupin III. He is 5'10", weighs 139 pounds. He's a master thief. His armaments include a Walther P38 and various gadgets.
That's a great gun.
This is Spike Spiegel. Height 6'1", weight 155 pounds. A bounty hunter. His armament is his Jericho 941. So, I need some fans here. Who would win in a fight? Lupin III or Spike Spiegel?
Spike. Spike. Definitely Spike.
Let's divide it here. How many people think Lupin?
Lupin.
I got it. 1, 2, 3, 7. Spike.
You shouldn't even.
Obviously don't like Lupin.
No, I love Lupin.
They don't take into account the luck factor because Spike's always had bad luck, but Lupin had the greatest luck ever.
Yes, that's true, but
The thing that I think that Lupin had going for him is that Lupin has an incredibly high tolerance of pain.
so does Spike, though. I mean, come on.
Has Spike ever been at the bottom of the ocean without a suit and had his body crushed?
No, but he's been shot. He's been shot. He's been stabbed. He's been blown up.
Lupin would steal Spike's gun. Okay. Anybody else?
Okay, if he stole Spike's gun, Spike would just go kung fu on him.
In Jeet Kune Do, actually.
But you gotta forget, you're forgetting Lupin is a great strategist and thinker. Spike is more of a hands-on type of guy.
Well, we meet again.
Yes, we do.
Are you kidding? Lupin's more of a make it up as you go along.
That's a strategy.
Good at it.
All right, one thing I wanted to make sure is that I know this is going to lead to a lot of debates, but I don't want any fist flying and I don't want any incredible arguments.
Can't guarantee a thing.
Okay. So,
Lupin's got better backup.
Lupin versus
Lupin
Spike.
has better backup, but
Spike has a better voice actor.
One fight.
Don't know Spike.
Anime.
That's pretty desperate.
I've never seen. Oh, I know Cowboy
voice actor?
Okay.
Yeah, no.
That's desperation.
It's Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop.
Well, I know Spike.
It's
Simply
Lupin.
because